Hello Internet! It has been a while. As I'm sure you've noticed, things are a little different than the last time I posted. First of all, my video is on my personal channel. This is where all my vlogs will be going forward, so make sure you subscribe. Second, my surroundings have changed yet again because I moved yet again. I unfortunately went through a breakup in January, which is why I disappeared for a little while, but I'm back and should be on a regular posting schedule going forward. But this vlog that you're about to watch was filmed back in January, right before my breakup. It's obviously a little out of date now. A lot of episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. have aired in the interim, but I thought it was worth sharing with you guys anyway. So without further ado, flashback. This week, I want to talk a little bit about Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which airs Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on ABC. More specifically, I want to stick up for the show a little bit, because based on what I've seen around various corners of the internet, the show has become a little bit of a target for negative criticism, ever since the premiere in September didn't live up to the lofty and probably unrealistic expectations set by ABC and Marvel and having Joss Whedon's name attached to the project. But you know what? I really like the show. Despite some flaws and growing pains in the early goings of the series, some of which I discussed in an earlier episode of this vlog, I think the show is getting better every week and I'm really enjoying it. It's certainly not perfect. There are some things they could be doing a lot better, but I think it's a really fun hour of TV every week. So why exactly am I enjoying this show? Well, there are two major criticisms I hear a lot that I disagree with. The first is about the core group of characters, the main S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and that they're underdeveloped and not terribly likable, and I completely disagree. I think it's certainly taken some time for those characters to become people we care about, but I think that's the case on most new TV series. And I think the writers have done a nice job of slowly developing these characters into both people and a team unit that we want to root for every week. I think this has particularly been true since the 6th episode of the show, entitled FitzSimmons, or however you'd pronounce that. I need a vowel somewhere. In any case, that was the first episode that presented a case of the week that was a threat to one of the team members. Everything prior to that had been something external, so there were no real stakes. Once the stakes were raised and we saw them have to fight for the life of one of their own, with Gemma infected with an alien virus, it really, you saw the highlights of the team members. You got to see Fitz and Simmons pop for the first time, whereas prior to that they were just kind of the nerds along for the ride. And I think from that point forward, the show did a really nice job of having episodes that in some way highlighted the backstory or the strengths of a certain character. They had a nice episode highlighting May's backstory. They did an episode that helped really highlight that Fitz is more than just a nerd when he went off on a case with Ward. So they've done a good job since then of using cases to build character instead of just having cases for the sake of having cases. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening with the characters, some more than others, but there's still half a season to go, and I think we've seen an upward trend of some really great character development, and I have really high hopes for what they're going to do in the second half of the season. The second big criticism I've seen is that the show isn't superhero-y enough, and that it doesn't feel like part of the Marvel Universe. I can't really speak to the second half. I know the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I love those movies, but I've never really been a big superhero comics fan, so I don't know the comics universe very well. As far as not being enough of a superhero show, I think the series is kind of like NCIS Marvel Edition, or Law & Order Marvel Edition. I don't know, take your pick of your favorite procedural. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. I think it was pretty firmly established coming into the series that this wasn't going to be a superhero show. It was going to be about the normal people living in a world that just so happens to feature superheroes living in it. Does this allow for an actual superhero character? Sure. I think we've sort of seen one with Mike Peterson, the character played by J. August Richards that we've seen a couple times this season, and I think we're going to see more of going forward based on the tag in the first episode back from the winter hiatus. But For right now, I think the show is really just focused on case of the week stuff on a smaller scale. Cases featuring interesting people like Akila Amador with the freaky eye implant connected to the clairvoyant, or cases that really deeply impact the team, like when Gemma caught the Chitauri virus, and that helps develop the characters. Once we get a little bit deeper in, maybe we see an actual established Marvel superhero. But for now, I think what they're doing is working. Also tend to think that even if the show were littered with Marvel references, whether it be saying that Iron Man and Hulk just left and you just missed them, or dropping references to some more obscure Marvel heroes, it would probably be off-putting to the non-diehard Marvel Universe fans. And I also think it would make it tougher to develop the characters that are starring in this show right now. So I think the way they're doing it is probably for the best for the time being. Once we get this universe established, we have these characters established, sure, drop in a Marvel superhero now and then, but for now, I think what they're doing is probably for the best. So that is why I am enjoying Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I want to go back to that loud, angry internet criticism I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. For a while there, and it's gotten better, it seemed like everyone's favorite show to bash on the internet was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It was like people were excited to tell you just how disappointed they were in the show and how much they hated it. And I have a question. Why? If you really hate something that much, and not just this show, any show, why keep watching it? There's so much good TV right now. There are so many things you could be doing instead. Why not find something you love and talk about that instead of focusing on something negative? It seems like a win-win to stop watching something you hate and getting in internet arguments, and instead find something you love and talk about that positively. But that's just my 2 cents. So what do you guys think of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are you enjoying it? Do you not like it? I'd also love to hear if you have thoughts on people hating on shows on the internet. Let me know in the comments. So that was that. Thank you for checking out this kind of awkward time travel-y episode of my vlog. Please make sure to subscribe so you can see future episodes here on my personal channel. You can follow me on Twitter at BigDamnTVGeek, and there's a link to my blog in the description. If you have any ideas for future episodes, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.